Today we're going to talk about using QPlugs with the Kratky method. In this video we're going to strictly concentrate on the media that you use using passive hydroponics to grow leafy greens and herbs. For a full description of the process, look at the link below. So as many of you are aware, we've been a strong advocate of using the Kratky method to be able to grow some of your own food at home. And the way that we've been advocating is using a 3-inch diameter net pot with these hydroponic clay pellets, which drop very nicely into a 3-inch diameter largemouth canning jar. And then you screw your lid on, put your seeds in, and you use your handy little sock to cover it, and suddenly you're growing. What we've had is some feedback from customers saying, well, you know, it's a lot of work to constantly clean these pellets. And that's true. We've seen the same thing where every month or two we have to clean a whole batch of pellets. So we've constantly been looking for better ways that eliminate that. And in this next section, we're going to talk a little bit about what we have found. So working with a large commercial grower, we've learned about what's called QPlugs. It's a company called iHort, and it's a mixture of coconut coir and peat moss, so it's fully biodegradable. And they're using these very commonly in large commercial applications. But what we've found is that they also work really well for the home grower. So what you need in order to start is you need a smallmouth canning jar. And now in this case you're using a 2-inch diameter net pot. And the wide lip ones, the ones that I found that work really well, is one called AC Infinity. That's the actual manufacturer. So that's what this particular net pot is. And this particular QPlug that I'm using is what's called a 40 by 40. So that's the dimensions of the top of the QPlug. It's 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters. It doesn't mean that's the only one you can use, but it fits very nicely into this 2-inch diameter net pot. So that's really what you need in order to get started. So one of the other advantages of using the QPlugs is that you can actually grow it in a variety of different containers. So you could see this is our standard canning jar. And then this is one where I just got a container. This one happens to be from some pomegranate juice that I had. And you'll see that there's no net pot in here. So some of you may be listeners and follow Mike Van Duzy, and one of the things he does is he talks a lot about different types of containers and different ways of growing. What's unique about this particular one is that you really just take your QPlug and you press it into the top of this jar or this container, and now you're growing without the need of the net pot. So you could see what the roots look like. And this is a container that would have gotten thrown away, and now suddenly you're able to grow your leafy greens and your herbs in it. So it's a really unique way of using these QPlugs. So to recap, when you use the clay pellets, you would use a 3-inch net pot in a largemouth canning jar, and now you would use a 2-inch net pot with a large lip in a smallmouth canning jar. The QPlug that you use is a 40-40, which means that it's 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters, and it drops very nicely into this 2-inch diameter net pot. Using the clay pellets is still an incredibly good way to grow your leafy greens and herbs at home. They're basically going to last you forever. You just clean them and reuse them, but it does require a little bit of extra work. The advantage of the QPlugs is that they're biodegradable, so they can be composted, but it does add a little bit of cost, somewhere between 20 and 25 cents per head of lettuce. But it simplifies your process, and if you're doing it on a larger scale, it is a really great option. Let us know how your growing with QPlugs goes. We're very anxious to hear your thoughts. We'll see you next time.